Hello, everybody. How y'all doing today? I hope you're doing well, especially with all the energy that's been floating around with the summer solstice yesterday. I hope you got a chance to catch that reading that I did yesterday. Fantastic message that was coming out. So if you didn't get a chance to check that out, definitely see about doing that. And of course, we just entered into Cancer season, and tonight we have the full moon in Capricorn, and of course, last night we had the strawberry moon. Lots of energy happening out there, and so forth. Thank goodness things finally calmed down for me a little bit, so I was able to kind of take it easy a little bit better. I know I have a tendency when I'm getting messages in and so forth. I have a tendency to get a little frazzled. It's just kind of weird. And I've noticed that with some other people as well. It's like it kind of throws you off kilter and so forth, and makes you all kind of batshit crazy. That's what I was feeling like. I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened here? So yeah, that fortunately things calmed down, and I was definitely feeling a lot better with work last night and so forth. Still noticed some people were kind of all but at least I was a lot more centered and grounded and so forth. So that's definitely helped quite a bit. So anyway, yeah, as promised, I know. Doing a video today on ride sharing. What it is that you need in order to get yourself rolling with doing ride sharing. I know I have not been very good at keeping up with all this stuff, but you know what? The way I look at it is it's all about the process. Everything that I'm doing with this channel, basically with the studio and so forth, with the blog, the advice that I'm giving, and so forth. It's all about the process, about making positive changes in your life and everything. And the reason why I decided to do the ride sharing is because talking about that and so forth is to help people, because I know a lot of people are turning to doing either ride sharing or doing the deliveries as a source to help keep a source of income going with being able to have that flexibility, with scheduling and so forth, without having to try and keep down, some sort of a job or something, where you're having to be within those sorts of constraints and so forth. So, especially while you're making transitions and so forth, or maybe, it's because that were kind of thrown into, maybe to doing ride sharing work because of health reasons, or maybe you lost your job or something, or whatever the case may be. And I noticed that with a lot of new people, it can be a bit daunting. Okay. So that's the reason why I decided to start doing these videos and everything. So, anywho, and fortunately, also had previous cab driving experience here in Vegas. So at least I had some sort of previous experience going into it. So I knew what I was actually getting myself into with doing it. I realized it was only going to be a temporary thing, but of course now here I am 7 years later. But let's face it, we also had the pandemic during those times and so forth. And yeah, let's face it, there's been a lot that's happened. So anywho, okay, so let's go ahead and dive into this as far as what it is that you need in order to get into doing ride sharing. Okay. And when I'm talking about ride sharing, I'm talking about providing transportation for other people through either the Uber or Lyft apps. I know that there's some others that have popped up out there and so forth, even ones that are quote unquote self-driving or whatever, like Zoox is one. I know that there's some others that have also popped up out there. But I know here in Vegas, at least right now, because there have been several in the past. But yeah, at least right now, the here in Vegas, the big one is Zoox. That's Zoox. So anyway, so let's dive into this. All right. So, very first thing that you're going to need, and some of these things are going to seem quite obvious to some people, but for some other people, it may not be. Okay, especially if they're not used to technology and so forth. Okay, very first thing, of course, that you're going to be needing, you're going to need a smartphone. Okay, not just a regular cell phone, like maybe one of those old flip phones or what have you that has the actual push buttons and so forth. You're going to need a smartphone. Basically, one of those that looks like a little computer. Okay, or it has apps installed and so on and so forth. It might seem a little bit cumbersome to some people who aren't used to these sorts of interfaces and so forth. But you are going to need it. Okay, you have to have it in order to be able to download and install the driver apps. Okay, whether it be for Lyft or for Uber, you're going to need those. Okay, you're also going to need an email address and so on and so forth. One nice thing about living in the larger cities, like say Charlotte or Vegas, LA, New York, so on and so forth, they usually have like a central headquarters. I'm not too sure if Lyft has a specific name, but I know with Uber it's called the Green Light Hub. Okay, where you can actually either just go in or you can make an appointment ahead of time and go in and talk to somebody and they can help you with this. Okay, with like setting up, going through the process, setting up an email account, downloading an app, so on and actually teaching you how to use it and so forth. Okay, so anyway, that's one thing that you're going to need. Second thing you're going to need a car. Unless you plan on giving people rides on your back, you're going to need a car. I know I laugh, but it's because it would seem obvious, but I know that in some areas, at least with the delivery services, they offer like a bike delivery service. Not the case when it comes to doing rides. Okay, so that's the reason why I say you're going to need a car. But specifics, I'll go into shortly. Okay, there are certain requirements. I will say, at least for right now, there are certain requirements that will have to be met even before basically you go into get the inspection done, which I'll cover here in a second. Okay, but it's each of the companies, Lyft and Uber, will have their own specific requirements as far as the age of a vehicle is concerned. So, and in order to know what that is, it can even be possibly state regulated. Okay, so what those requirements are, and unfortunately they change quite frequently. I know Uber actually lowered it. I think it's now you can't have a vehicle that's older than 2007 or something. It used to be 2017 or 2014 or something like that. I don't remember. But anyway, and Lyft used to be, I know they kind of keep flip-flopping as far as the age of the vehicle. For a while there, Uber was like, oh no, you had to have a newer vehicle, and Lyft was like, oh, it's okay to have an older vehicle, and then they flip-flopped. Excuse me. So yeah, definitely that's one of the reasons, of course, another reason why you're going to need the app. So in that way, you can check to see how old of a vehicle you can have in order to be able to drive. Okay, in order to be able to use that vehicle. Okay, the other criteria has to have 4 doors. Okay, so if you have a 2-door sedan or a 2-door pickup truck, give it up. Okay, you're not going to be able to use it. Okay, I do see 4-door pickup trucks. They usually have the short beds. Okay, I do see people using them to do ride sharing work. I do hear complaints about it from people, especially people with disabilities or people who are older and so forth. But it is. I do see people using them. Probably not the best on gas mileage, but I do see people using them. Okay, so those are the basically going to be probably the two top criteria, even before you even go in for your inspection. That's going to kick you out of, or it's going to force you to be denied in order to be able to use that vehicle. Okay. All right. The other thing you're going to need, and you would think this would be quite obvious, but actually, when I was in the Greenlight Hub a couple of weeks ago, the Uber Greenlight Hub, I went in there to get basically a card that you use to do shopping excursions for clients. People who want you to, say, run to the grocery store or to the drugstore or whatever, and pick up a few items for you. As far as deliveries are concerned, you use a separate card to pay for the items. Okay. I was actually in there, and there was somebody who was looking to sign up to drive and didn't realize they needed a driver's license. Yeah. That's actually a state requirement even, okay? It's not even just an Uber or Lyft requirement. That is a state requirement. And I'm sure that is countrywide, okay? And I'm sure it's probably worldwide even. This isn't just a U.S. thing. That is probably an international thing as well. Not just some Joe Schmo can come in off the street and start driving, okay? You do need a driver's license, okay? And if you lost yours, they may or may not be able to do a workaround. Your best bet, if you lost your driver's license, yeah, it's going to be time consuming and so forth, going to prevent you from being able to drive. But I highly recommend that you go ahead and go into the DMV and get a new one reissued. Okay, I know some states require that it gets reissued from the state capital. But because they don't necessarily do them in office anymore, some states are like that, but at least you'll be covered, okay? All right, so definitely you'll need that, okay? The other thing that you're going to have to be able to do is to be able to pass what I call a soft background check. Okay, difference between a soft and a hard background check. A soft background check, basically, what they're doing is they're using your driver's license number / social security number. Okay, you are going to need some sort of federal ID number, like a social security number, or if you are here as an immigrant or something like that, you're going to need some sort of federal ID number. Okay. You'll basically with that, what they're doing is they're taking that information and they're basically just running a local background check. Okay, they use a third party. I don't remember the name of the company that they use, and they may even change it on a consistent basis. But and basically they're just doing a simple background based off of that information, okay? What I call a hard background check would be when they're actually getting your fingerprints, okay? And it gets ran. I have been fingerprinted before, and not for anything criminal or anything, just certain jobs that I have had had a requirement for a fingerprint. Okay, one of them was being a cab driver. Safe to say, when you come to Vegas and you get into a cab, every cab driver who is driving here in Vegas has been fingerprinted. So, okay. And it's actually a more thorough background check. Okay. That's why I call it more of a hard background check. Okay. When you're fingerprinted, if you've never been fingerprinted before, typically they run two sets of prints, 2 cards are done. Okay. And, one set is sent to the state to have things checked with the state, another sent to FBI to check. The state usually takes takes a shorter amount of time. The FBI, because of all the backlogs and so forth, it usually takes a little bit longer. So yeah, okay. Uh, that's what I mean by a soft background check versus a hard background check. Okay, so yeah, you will have to be able to pass a soft background check. It is a criminal background check, but it's a soft one. Okay, based off of your identifying numbers. Okay, let me see. I'm trying to remember everything that I was going to cover. So yeah, you will have to be able to pass that. Once you basically go through those steps, okay, I'm going to kind of backtrack a little bit here on the vehicle. Okay, you have two different options. You can use your own vehicle, which we kind of discussed, as far as, the age and, how many doors, and so on and so forth. Okay, you can use your own vehicle. Okay. But it's going to have to be able to pass a safety check. Okay, a safety inspection. All right, the safety inspection, I know I've covered this before in the other videos. Wait to do that until the last minute. The background check, Uber or Lyft will take care of that themselves. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. But the safety inspection, wait until everything else has been taken care of, then get your safety inspection taken care of. Okay, if you're going to be using your own vehicle. Okay, whether it's your own vehicle or if you're going to go to a dealership and lease a vehicle. And when I'm talking about leasing a vehicle, there's a difference between leasing a vehicle through a dealership and to go to a car rental company like Hertz or Avis or something like that and leasing one of those vehicles. Okay. I'm not even too sure if you would even be able to go that second route or not. But I know you can definitely do it if you go to, like a Toyota dealership or something like that and lease one of those vehicles, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. You should be able to, because it's a lease, it's in your name and so forth, but it will have to go through the safety inspection. That was the other thing. I knew I was forgetting something else. That's the other thing you're going to need. Auto insurance. You're going to need auto insurance, a state approved auto insurance within your state. Okay. You can't go to, say, for instance, you live in Nevada, you can't go to California and get auto insurance. Even though when you are out driving, whether you have a passenger or not, if you yourself get into an accident, and of course you cause that accident, you are covered under Uber or Lyft's vehicle insurance. Okay, I can't stress that enough. Yes, there is a high deductible. I don't know what it would be with Lyft, but I do know that with Uber, it's $1,000 deductible that you have to meet before their insurance actually kicks in. But you do have it is with most states, it is required that you have your own vehicle insurance. Okay, and you will need to make sure that that your policy covers ride sharing. Okay, and we're going to leave it at that. All right, so. And you're going to have to be able to provide that proof to Uber or Lyft. Okay. Also, the other thing that you're going to be needing, I was going to cover this till last, but if I also go ahead and cover it now, the other thing you're going to need at some point with I'd have to say probably most states require it now, a business license. I know state of Nevada, I don't know how it is with most other states or anything, so I'm going off of the state of Nevada just in case that you run into the same issue with your own state. Okay. With state of Nevada, you're given a 6-month grace period. Okay, so from the time that you actually sign up and get approved and so forth, you have 6 months to get that business license. I know state of Nevada, it's a special business license. It is a sole proprietorship license, but it is a special license that is strictly for rideshare drivers. Okay, it's $200 that it has to be renewed every single fiscal year. Okay. And also a lot of local jurisdictions will require a local business license as well. And it's mostly from the what I have seen out there, it's mostly larger cities, like say like say Vegas, San Francisco, LA, Chicago, New York, and so forth. And it's mostly to help cover the taxes for picking up at the airport. That's mostly what it's there to cover. So yeah, if you're going to be picking up at the airport, make sure you're going to have to make sure you have that business license, and it's going to have to be displayed on your windshield. Or if you haven't received it yet, because a lot of them, they will mail it to you, you have to actually at least have the paperwork showing that you have purchased it, but you're just waiting for it in the mail in case you get pulled over. Okay. Otherwise, you can receive a fine. All right. I know here it's like $100. A friend of mine actually had that happen. He was like, oops. So, yeah. And it's another one that has to be renewed every single year as well. Okay. All right. Getting back to the vehicles. Okay. If you're going to be, like I said, if you're going to be using your own vehicle or you're going to be leasing a vehicle, I'm talking about a lease that's, at least a year, 2 years. You hear those advertisements all the time from vehicle manufacturers. Oh, come on down and lease a vehicle, for 3 years or whatever the case may be. Okay, so those are the sorts of leases that I'm talking about. Okay. You're going to have to be able to take the vehicle in, okay, after going through all the approval processes and so forth, and you're going to have to be able to pass a safety inspection. For the larger cities like Vegas, I know I keep using Vegas as an example, but hey, I live here. I've been driving here the whole time that I've been a rideshare driver, so this is, of course, going to be my biggest experience. But I know that other areas as well, like larger cities as well. They will usually, not always, but usually they will, at the headquarters for Uber, Lyft, they're going to be separate headquarters. Then they will have their own safety inspections. Okay. The easiest way to do it is just to get the inspection done at one, upload it to the app because it'll be an actual form that has to be signed off on by a certified mechanic. Okay. And they have to be able to put their credentials on there. All right. And and then afterwards you just take a picture of it, upload it to the app, bam, you're done. Okay. Depending on whichever one that you go to is going to depend on how much the fee is. I know Uber just raised theirs to like $25, at least here. I'm assuming that's the same across the board. You don't necessarily have to go to the hubs to, basically the headquarters to get the inspections done. You can download the form and take it over to a mechanic, or they can download it themselves. Most of them are aware of it, at least more major mechanic shops, like say Meineke. A big one is that everybody goes to is Pep Boys. Okay, they usually have the forms already and take care of it. So a lot of smaller places, I've actually taken my car to, and they just go ahead and take care of it and everything, as long as it's an ASE certified mechanic. Okay, that's the big thing. That you can't just go to some backyard mechanic and have them do the safety inspection. They have to be an ASE certified mechanic, because, like I said, they have to be able to write down their credentials on basically their information on the form. Okay, there's like certain ASE certified number, license number, and so on and so forth, that they had to actually be able to put down on the form in order for it to be approved. Okay. with the safety inspection, it's going to be things like making sure your seat belts are working, your windows are working, your door locks are working, your headlights, your high beams, your flashers, your turn signals. They're going to check both individually. It isn't just a matter of, oh, turn on your flashers and everything's set, ready to go. No, you're going to have to do your flashers and your turn signals. Don't ask. I don't understand it, but that's the way it is. And also, they're going to check the depth of your tires and also your brake pads. Okay. I don't know of any way where you can check your brake pads ahead of time. I mean, obviously, if they're crunching, squealing, you might want to go ahead and get them replaced ahead of time. Okay. Your tires, a real quick, easy way to be able to do it, take a penny. Okay. There used to be an actual commercial about this. I'm kind of showing my age a little bit here. Hey, I don't care, you know. I'm not a vain person when it comes to age. It's like, shoot, you know, I'm proud of the fact that I'm going to be 50 this year. It's like, you know what? That's a mile marker. You know what I have lived through? Yeah, I've lived through 50 years. Leveling up. Next goal. Anyway, I know I'll get a little off topic, but anyway, okay. Yeah, like I said, quick, easy way to do it to check the depth of your treads on your tires. Okay, take a penny. Okay, you're gonna turn it upside down. Basically, turn Abe Lincoln on his head. I don't have a penny right now to be able to show you. You're going to take Abe Lincoln and you're going to turn him upside down on his head. Okay. Make sure that he's facing you. All right. Not the tail side, but the head side. All right. Make sure he's facing you. And you're going to take the penny. You're going to put it into the tread of the tire. Okay. If you see the top of Abe Lincoln's head, and I'm pretty much almost quoting this commercial verbatim. If you see the top of Abe Lincoln's head, then it means it's time to change your tires. Okay? So, like I said, that's a real quick, easy way to be able to check to see if you're going to pass that part or not. The two biggest ones that you're going to have to be worried about are the brake pads and the tires. Okay? And it's, of course, all four tires. All right. Okay. If you decide to go ahead and lease a vehicle through Uber or Lyft, okay, there is that option. You won't have to worry about the safety inspection because it will already have happened for you. Just be warned that the leasing fees can be expensive. Okay. Yes, there are some cheaper options that they do offer. They do offer. I'm not too sure about too much with Lyft. I'm kind of going off of things that a friend of mine has told me because he drives for both. Okay, but I drive strictly for Uber. I've tried Lyft. I don't know. I just didn't vibe with it. I just seem to have better success with just driving with Uber. So I'm sticking with it. Okay, so. And that's the thing. Once you find try out different things and so forth. Try doing deliveries and doing rides at the same time and so forth. Try driving, doing different times of the day, different areas, so on and so forth. When you find your vibe, when you find your energy current, stick with it. All right, because that's how you're going to maximize on your money as much as you possibly can. Okay, so anyway, when I know with Uber, with leasing a vehicle, they offer two different options. One with using gas vehicles, and they also offer the electric vehicles. Okay, do your comparisons. See how which one is going to work out best for you. All right. I do know that the gas options, at least here in this area, they can kind of be few and far between as far as those reservations are concerned. And that's the thing with leasing the vehicles. You have to lease it, or you have to put in a reservation ahead of time. You're also going to need to make sure, because they're using third parties. Basically, they mostly the biggest one that they use is Hertz. Okay, you can't just go to Hertz and rent one. You have to actually do it through the app, and then the app puts in the reservation for you. Okay, that's how you get the pre-approved vehicles. All right. With the with those third parties, you're going to have to be able to have that money ahead of time. You got to put in the reservation, and you have to have however much that lease is, that total amount, taxes included, ahead of time in order to pay for it. Okay, it isn't a thing where, oh, you go and you lease it and then they take it out of your earnings. No, that's not the case. You have to, if say for instance, if the lease, and most of them are done by the week, even though you might do a reservation, say for a whole month, you are doing it. You have to, or whatever. You're going to need all of that money up front. Okay, and the least amount that you can do it is for a week. Okay, so if, say for instance, if it's $300 for a week, you're going to need that full $300 up front. Okay, so and like I said, the gas vehicles are a little bit more difficult to come by, because partly because they are cheaper, and at